There are so many words that people use, which is just literally like perfectionism is just fear with lipstick on. Well, hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. We're going to talk about a hot topic today. We're going to talk about perfectionism. And before you're like, oh, I don't need to listen to this, I'm not somebody who gets stuck on perfectionism. But maybe you do. Maybe you do. I asked ChatGPT, like, Chat, give me just some examples of some things that business women would say, or women who are trying to go into business or start a business or what have you. Like, what are some things that they would say, phrases that they would use when they're stuck in perfectionism, but maybe they don't realize it? So here's some examples. You ready? Okay. If you haven't launched, you might say things like, I'm just not ready yet. Once it's perfect, I'll launch it. I just need to tweak it a little bit more. I just want it to look more professional first. I don't want to mess this up. What if it's not good enough? I'm not an expert yet. I don't want people to judge me. It needs to be just right. I'm waiting for the right time. It has to be a better quality or I won't release it. I've been working on this forever. I just want to make sure it's the best that it can be. I'm not ready to put my name on it yet. Ooh, here's some of the words that ChatGPT said often masks perfectionism. You ready? When you're using words like tweak, polish, fine tune, professional, not quite, imposter syndrome, excellence. Oh my gosh. Like, I just want it to be excellent. Okay, well, who doesn't, right? Who doesn't? There are so many words that people use, which is just literally like perfectionism is just fear with lipstick on. It literally is. And so often people will think, oh, I'm not doing that. Are you stalling though? Did God ask you to do something and you haven't yet? Because very likely you haven't yet because you're struggling with fear. And here's the truth is everybody struggles with fear when they put something out into the world, when they start something that they never have before. Why do you think, I'm going to just be ornery for a second, but why do you think that you get to be different? Why do you think that everybody else has to go through the fear of releasing something brand new, but you don't get to? Why do you think you get to bypass that? Because you don't. That sounds harsh. I know. I've even had to say that to my kids before, to one of my children. I had to be like, why do you think that you're different than the rest of the kids? Why do you think that you're more special, that you don't have to go through and experience the same thing? Like, we don't get shortcuts when it comes to this. And part of that, I think, is because you're building something that matters. Even if you're like, but Jen, I'm just selling earrings. Okay, well, let me just say that these earrings I got on today, if you're watching me on the YouTube, they matter. They are spectacular. They are two different layers of gold. They are gold feathers. And the older you get, the more you're supposed to have a pop of color next to your face, whether it is something metallic or colorful. So, in my 53-year-old self here, I'm trying to do a little something, something. And so I would beg to say, I would beg to differ with your opinion that like earrings don't matter. Oh, really? I feel fabulous in these earrings. They matter. What you're doing matters. And it matters both to the people you're selling something to and to the people that you call family. If you are married, if you have children, if you're taking care of parents, like money in your bank account, it matters. And so perfectionism, it's just not precious. And I think that people think, oh, it sounds like I matter so much about quality. It sounds like when I'm saying, I'm just trying to get it perfect. It sounds so honorable, like I'm trying to just do the right thing by my clients. But every single time that I hear somebody say, I'm just trying to get it perfect, I think they are just stuck in fear. They are stuck in fear. And that's not precious at all. And that's not honorable to anybody, themselves or the people depending on them. And so I am trying so hard here at Team Allwood. We work on this all the time to just like to have a culture of progress over perfection. We try to encourage our students to launch before it's perfect, to launch before you feel ready. Look, if I waited until I felt ready to do everything in my business, I would still be planning it out. I'm never ready. I was never ready to get on a stage. I was never ready to launch a mastermind. I was never ready to have a conference. I was never ready to write a book. God doesn't expect you to be ready. He expects you to be obedient. People forget that when you are called, when you have a nudge, when you have an opportunity, when you have a talent, a skill, a testimony that God expects for you to use on this side of heaven, God already knows if you're ready. And if he's calling you, then you are. And it doesn't matter how unperfect you think something is. Do the best that you can, but then get it out into the world. Listen, you have to forget, or you can't forget, that you can always change it later. You can always edit it later. You can always like redo that website later. You can always add more to your course later. But for some of you, you literally have like a lifeboat that somebody else needs. You literally have in your skill set, in your program, in your coaching, in your consulting, in your membership, like you have a flotation device that someone on the internet needs. It's either a client, or perhaps it's somebody in your household, in your family, that needs a flotation device via dollars in the bank account. And you stalling brings no honor to the gifts God gave you or to them. It doesn't. It is not precious, I promise you. The truth is, nothing has to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. You don't have to have a perfect website. You don't have to have perfect branding. You don't totally need to understand your exact elevator pitch, your exact angle just yet. You don't need to have all the things planned out. What you do need to have is some motion. You know, we forget. Oh gosh, so sorry. So sorry. I did not realize that my Aunt Becky Boyle was going to be calling me and that my ringer was on. My hubby is out of town and he'll be back by the time this comes out. And so I always make sure I ringer's on when Jason's out of town. But um, God can't do anything with you when you're stuck, or your situation when you're stuck. You have to be in motion. Faith without works is dead. Works doesn't mean like you're working really hard. Works does mean though that there's something happening. You're trying something. And you know, every successful entrepreneur out there, they started with something imperfect. They started with something that was messy, but they showed up and they did it anyway. And they worked to hone their craft. They worked to make it better. They worked to improve things, but they did not get stuck in the perfectionism stage. I once heard somebody say that you've got to get okay with just putting out B minus work in the beginning. Because if you're constantly striving for A plus work, you're never going to get it out there. And so please don't let the fear of you being judged outweigh your desire to be obedient to God. I have always told my children that delayed obedience is disobedience. My pastor says this all the time. If God has given you a talent, a skill, a testimony, something on the side of heaven that you feel like you're supposed to be doing, and you just continue to put it off, saying you're trying to get it perfect, like you're being disobedient. You are. And if you're someone who walks closely with the Lord, you know when you're being disobedient. I know when God first started talking to me about shutting down the Magic Brush, my painting company. Back in 2016, I didn't shut it down until 2017 because I was disobedient. And it is amazing to me the doors that opened for me on the other side of obedience. And I'm not saying that it's like a magic formula, you know, to get something out there and God's going to bless it. But I am saying that God's definitely not going to bless things that are not out into the world yet. And so sometimes being obedient looks like pushing publish on a website that you're not even sure is ready yet, pushing go on a program that you're thinking you still need to polish it a little bit more. The enemy of your soul wants to steal, kill, and destroy any progress you're making. He wants to steal, kill, and destroy any sort of, you know, life vest, life saving thing that you may be offering the world. He wants to steal dollars from you, steal your peace, steal your sleep, all those things. You have to remember that. You're always going to think it's not ready yet. You're always going to think it could be better. You're always going to think, I don't know. I don't know. Nobody does. Get it out there, people. Perfectionism, not required. Obedience, required. Get it out into the world and see what happens. You will not know until you try. Will you fall flat on your face? Perhaps, but then at least you'll know. Will it fail miserably? Maybe. I have done plenty of things in my business that has failed miserably. I launched a program years ago. Not one single person signed up for it. Not one. I mean, that's a big fat fail. That's a BFF if I ever saw one. But I did not let it stop me from going back at it again. So if you are procrastinating because you're trying to get something perfect, I need for you to stop. There's a quote from somebody called Bishop Rosie that I've never forgotten. I put it in my book, Fear's Not the Boss of You. Here's a quote that I want you to walk away with today, okay? Listen to this. Write it down in your notes. I can't have you screenshot it. If you're watching on YouTube, maybe we can convince Easton to put it on the screen. But Bishop Rosie said, procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God will give you tomorrow what you were told to do today. Whoo! Okay? Procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God will let you do tomorrow what you were told to do today. Stop procrastinating, people. Stop trying to make it perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Perfectionism is just, it's great in theory. It just doesn't happen that way. You can work on something for years and years and years and get it out there and finally and realize, you know what, you forgot to turn on something on your website. There were, misspellings. Like nothing is going to be perfect. And you claiming that that's what you're doing is nobody's believing you anyway. So can we get it out into the world? Can you just give me a yes? If you're watching on YouTube, comment below. If you're listening to this just on a regular podcast app and you know someone who's stalling, and you know in your knower when somebody is, you know when your sister-in-law has been trying to get her business off the ground for the last 3 years, for the love. It doesn't take 3 years. Get it out there, friend. Send this podcast to her. I love you so much. I honestly really do. I am rooting for you. Talk soon. Bye-bye.